All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Yashim, Yahweh Shai by Yashim, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of Yasha Allah, upholding the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. Peace and salutation. This is the brother Bakwasha, and I want to cover wisdom and just some applications of wisdom, because as scripture says, wisdom is the principal thing, and Yahweh Shem Shai has given us Sophia, right, which is wisdom to navigate, in these last days, right? And as we see Esau, the so-called white man, the devil coming down with a great wrath because he knoweth that he has but a short time. They're going to be hypersensitive. They're going to be hyper emotional, and they're going to be looking for any and everything to accuse us, the hopeful elect, to Yahweh Shem Shai, and to justify his wickedness, and ultimately to try to usurp prophecy. Okay, and we know through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai that he's not going to be able to fulfill that. But in accordance with the covenant that was established with the children of Israel, okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay, our responsibility of that covenant is to have faith, but also to have wisdom. And so just as these days are nigh, right, and every scenario in which we face could be a scenario of deliverance, or it could be a scenario of death, that we use wisdom. And I just want to go through a couple of these quick precepts that highlight wisdom and the application of it. And I would say, just on the whole, that wisdom that even Yahweh Shai has used was really just to be quiet, ultimately, and have patience. But we're going to go into the scriptures, and Lord will, this will be edifying for the elect. This is Sirach chapter 20, verse 1. It says, "There is a reproof that is not calmly. Again, some man holdeth his tongue, and he is wise." Some man holdeth his tongue, and he is wise. And really, that's what's going to be going on. There's going to be more emotion. There's going to be more blame, more persecution. There's going to be all types of scenarios where Esau uses AI, uses your search history, comes up with all of the profiles that you've ever created, and he can create a fictitious character and have you say anything, right? We already see what he's doing towards the Northern Kingdom, as far as ICE. There's been programs out where they can use apps and just come up to you and take pictures of your face, right? And now blame you for things that you wouldn't have done, right? The Constitution has been completely eroded, right? And so how do you apply wisdom in these situations? Do you fight back? Do you cuss? Do you do you fuss? Right? Do you kick and scramble? Do you do all of those things? Well, a wise man that's been cultivated, okay, in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, scripture says that some man holdeth his tongue, and he is wise. And matter of fact, let's just grab that real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6. It says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation." So we were just talking about deliverance or death. The strength of salvation is in wisdom. But in the application of wisdom, when all things are going chaotic, there's insurrection, there's neighbors fighting against neighbors, there's all types of anarchy and upheaval all around us. The spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai says, And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So what does that mean? As scripture says, being able to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Okay. This is Matthew 10 and 16. It says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Okay. So wherever we go, we are basically the prey, right? But we have the shepherd. Okay. And the shepherd is guiding us through wisdom to navigate the way out through the straight gate. Okay. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. Okay. But it's wisdom that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has given us. Okay. To apply in these situations, to where as scripture says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents. So knowing our enemies and knowing what they will do is really an advantage of prophecy. Okay. We know our enemies. We know what they're going to do. We know their MO, right? Their method of operation, right? We know that they have to lie. We know that they have to, quote unquote, trump up charges, right? All the persecution they've done to our forefathers. They did the same thing to the prophets, right? So it's being able to recognize those things as they're happening, and also being able to rule your spirit. Okay. Matter of fact, let's see if we can grab that through the spirit. This is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28. He that hath no rule over his own spirit. It's a lot. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. The purpose of walls for your city is to protect from invaders. Okay. So not having rule over your spirit means that you don't have a defense against the enemy. So the defense in all situations, okay, as Lord will, we will be delivered, okay, from Jacob's trouble, from the hour of temptation, from martial law, from this famine of food, right? From all of these, attacks, whether they be principalities, whether they be physical, whether it be persecution, whether it be detention centers, whatever it may be. But having rule over your spirit, that is wisdom. That is the application. And it may not come in words. It may come in just knowing that this is the time in which is the hour of temptation. This is the time of Jacob's trouble. But as scripture says, but he shall be delivered from it. Okay. Let's grab this real quick. Because as I had made mention, all of this is just to go into wisdom that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has given us. But knowing how to apply it in the scenarios when things get hot. Okay. This is now gold being tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Okay. Because that adversity is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. But what is wisdom? What is the application of wisdom teach us? To be wise as a serpent. Okay. To let your words be few. Okay. If any. All right. This is Matthew 5 and 25. It says, agree with thine adversary quickly. Okay. Whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge. And see, in this scenario, there won't even be a judge. There will be no more martial, There will be no more constitution, which means there would be no more due process. Okay, meaning you have to, be given a certain amount of time. You have to be given a court appointed lawyer, XYZ, and then you come before the judge. All of those things are no longer going to be available. The adversary will be equipped to take lives. Okay, so what does the application of wisdom say? Matthew 5:25. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. And in most of these scenarios, prison is not even going to be a thing. I've heard a couple of brothers talking about brothers, or a guy had a dream, right, that people were in this detention center, and if they tried to leave the detention center, there were automatic weapons ready to fire and kill people. Okay, so this is the wisdom in which we're preparing ourselves and utilizing through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. For Yahweh Shem Yahushai just didn't give us this wisdom as a consolation prize. It's in preparation for the hour of temptation. Okay, for Jacob's trouble. Okay. Con, let's grab this. This is Luke chapter 21. And let's start at verse 12. It says, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Which means that this is only talking about the hopefully elect, okay? Because everybody else isn't going to have the names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Kodash, okay? Verse 13, it says, and it shall turn to you for a testimony, okay? Meaning a witness, right? That we're being persecuted, we're being in that situation delivered because of the name of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. Or names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. Okay. It says, and it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, which is your mind, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. Verse 15, and this is wisdom speaking. It says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all of your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So these are just a few methods of the application of wisdom, whether it be not responding or allowing wisdom, the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, to speak through you in that time of trouble. Okay? Praying to Yahweh Shem Yahushai that he give you these words, because that's what the scriptures say. It says, might as well read down here. This is verse 16. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. So as often as the apostles and the bishops and the elders of Great Millstone have made known, know what you're a part of. Okay? Know why you are here. Because there's not going to be any more margin for error. Okay? The love of many has waxed cold. Esau is desperate. Okay? And he knows that according to 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, right? Esau is the end of the world. And he's going to fight tooth and nail to keep this queendom going as long as he possibly can. But he's never going to fight fair because he always has had a perpetual hatred. So he doesn't care about ending it all, especially if he's able to take the men of righteousness, the hopeful elect, with him. Okay. Let's read verse 17. It says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. So yeah, outside of this brotherhood, outside of the hopeful elect, having these names puts you in the crosshairs of every situation. But through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and using wisdom, and matter of fact, let's just end out on that. This is now the application. This is Colossians chapter 4, verse 5. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without. These Babylonians are drunk off of confusion, off of darkness, off of lies, off of demons. Okay? Walk in wisdom towards them that are without. I want to say I had listened to the elder Malcolm, his lesson recently, and I believe it was him, so Salaki if it wasn't. But speaking on another way of practicing wisdom is to walk away. Because in certain scenarios, not saying anything, you're still within quote unquote range of demons or fire, right? And then in other scenarios, it's just best to leave, right? And then obviously Yahweh Shem Yahushua can give us the words to speak in those scenarios. But all of this is just Lord will, an exhortation, a reminder for Achim, okay, that things have been turned up, escalated here in Babylon. But when things turn up on the left-hand side, okay, as far as wickedness and blame and accusations, okay, that's when the men of Yahweh Shem Yahushai continue to stay on that straight gate, on that straight path, step by step. Because it's fire on one side and it's waters on the other. But the wisdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushai is what is leading us through. That's that calmness. Okay. That's scripture says that peace that Yahushua is leaving with us. Okay. And that is ultimate belief that he will deliver. Okay. So it says Colossians 4 and 5, walk in wisdom towards them that are without, redeeming the time. It says, let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Because sometimes it's not even an answer that needs to be said. It's that discernment that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has given us to walk away, to get out of the line of danger. Okay. So let's wrap up on this one. This is Ephesians chapter 5 and 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly. Okay. It means being observant of your environment, being able to diagnose in the spirit what's really going on as you enter into a different space. You know, whose spirits are being stirred up, right? Being able to use that wisdom that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has given us to see things before they happen. Because that's what prophecy is. Prophecy is speaking those things before they happen, right? But the recognition of those is now seeing those things as they are happening. That's the manifestation of it. So we know that we're in we're behind enemy lines. We know that these other heathen nations have a hatred towards us. Okay, so it's not it's not to be unpredicted that these heathens have been riled up, and you can tell it all across Babylon. Okay, the love of many is waxing cold at an accelerated rate. Okay, so what does the scripture say? Ephesians 5:15. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. I'm gonna grab that word here, wise, too. Oh, I gotta get out of that. But Lord will, I'll put that in the post-production. It says, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Okay. So, Lord will, like I said, this was edifying for the elect. Just a couple of scriptures I want to go into in the spirit, knowing that these days are evil, man. And how do we redeem the time? We redeem the time by going through these scriptures, knowing the things that are happening, that were spoken of to happen, and knowing that they are currently happening. And how do we utilize the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai to navigate, to allow wisdom to pull us through these scenarios, to guide us, because that's one of the purposes that Yahweh Shai sacrifice, has given us is now, this wisdom to where we can apply it, in all situations. All right. So Lord will, this was edifying for the elect. Until next time, Shalom.